The lonely road. It was a typical Friday night when I found myself behind the wheel, driving through the pitch-black countryside. The road stretched endlessly ahead, illuminated only by the weak beams of my headlights. The radio played softly, but it did little to ease the growing unease gnawing at me. I had taken this route countless times before, but tonight, something felt different, ominous even. As I navigated a sharp bend, I saw a figure standing by the roadside, arm outstretched, thumb pointing skyward. Against my better judgment, I slowed down and pulled over. The man, dressed 8K in a tattered coat, approached me that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Thanks for stopping," he said, his voice gravelly. "My car broke down a few miles back. Could you give me a lift to the next town?" I hesitated but eventually nodded. "Hop in." As we drove, the hitchhiker made small talk, but I could feel his eyes on me, studying me. His presence filled the car with an unsettling tension. I tried to focus on the road, but every now and then, I'd catch his reflection in the rearview mirror, his eyes glinting in the dark. After several miles, the hitchhiker spoke again. "Can you take a left up ahead? There's a shortcut through the woods." My heart skipped a beat. The idea of driving deeper into the woods with this stranger was terrifying, but I didn't want to show fear. I nodded and turned down the narrow, unpaved path he indicated. The trees closed in around us, their branches clawing at the car. The path became rougher, the ride bumpier. The hitchhiker's directions grew more confusing, and soon I realized I had no idea where we were. My GPS had lost signal, and there were no signs of civilization. Just as panic was setting in, the hitchhiker pointed ahead. "There, that's the place." In the distance, an old, decrepit house loomed, its windows dark and foreboding. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Positive, I'll be quick, just wait here." He stepped out, disappearing into the shadows. I sat in the car, the silence pressing in on me. Minutes felt like hours. Suddenly, my phone buzzed a message from a friend. "Where are you? Heard there's a dangerous hitchhiker on the loose near your area. Be careful." My blood ran cold. I looked around, but the hitchhiker was nowhere in sight. Panic gripped me as I realized I had let a potential threat into my car. Before I could react, the hitchhiker reappeared, but something was different. His expression was darker, more menacing. He climbed back into the car without a word. My mind raced. What had he been doing in that house? "Let's go," he said, his voice low and commanding. I forced myself to drive, but my hands were shaking. I needed to get out of this situation, but the forest seemed to close in tighter around us. Suddenly, the hitchhiker grabbed my arm, his grip iron tight. "You took something from me," he hissed. "Give it back." "I don't know what you're talking about," I cried, trying to keep control of the car. He leaned closer, his eyes wild. "You took it, now you'll pay." In a burst of adrenaline, I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded to a halt, and I wrestled free from his grip. I flung the door open and ran into the woods, branches slashing at my face and arms. Behind me, I heard him crashing through the underbrush, his breathing heavy and erratic. My heart pounded as I stumbled through the darkness, the cold air cutting into my lungs. I didn't dare look back. Ahead, I saw a faint light, a cabin. I sprinted toward it, hope flaring in my chest. I pounded on the door, praying someone would answer. As the night wore on, the woman told me about the hitchhiker, a restless spirit doomed to wander these woods, seeking revenge on anyone who crosses his path. I shivered, realizing how close I had come to a grisly fate. Eventually, the pounding stopped. The woman assured me he wouldn't return tonight. Exhausted, when I awoke, the sun was rising, casting a golden glow over the forest. The woman gave me directions back to the main road. I thanked her profusely and left the safety of the cabin. As I drove away, the memories of the night before felt like a distant nightmare. But the fear lingered, a reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the reach of the light. The road ahead seemed less threatening in the daylight, but I knew I would never forget the terror I had faced. And I vowed never to pick up another hitchhiker again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe for more content. See you next time.